I am super excited. I've been saying this in every single episode, starting off by saying I'm really super excited. But right now, I'm excited because the topic is fantastic. The topic is so applicable to so many families. You'll get right into it. But the best part is my guest. It's my wife. Hey, baby.
Hey, Steve.
I was thinking about the whole summer series is about discipleship and how we can capture every single moment of the summer, not let it slip by, but take every moment and consider it an opportunity for discipleship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so thinking about all the issues that come along in summer, the one thing that I hear a lot of parents say is this question of, I'm bored. Mm-hmm. And so what do we do with that as parents when we're thinking about discipleship for our families? And I can't think of anybody more expert on this idea of how to combat and how to minister through this idea of boredom. So Shannon, I know this is really hard for you, and I am so thankful that you wanted to be a part of this discussion. And so with this idea of boredom, so I'm going to set the scene. We're in one room and we hear huffing from another room. I'm bored. Drives a lot of us crazy. Mm-hmm. What do we do about that?
Well, first of all, it's understandable because their life just radically changed from a busy school schedule to all their activities until now we have long periods of uninterrupted time, and we don't know what to do with it. And the second thing is something that you already mentioned is opportunity. You use that word. Boredom is not a problem. We often see it as a problem, but it's not. It's actually an opportunity for our kiddos to teach them lots of things. And so I've done a little bit of research about what counselors and psychologists and those who study actually this idea with students and children, and figured out some of the things that they're saying about it. So
you said something that is surprising, that boredom is an opportunity to do some things. What are some of the things you're talking about? Because we always think of boredom as something that we have to make discipline out of. But you're saying something totally different about this.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for us to take a look at our kiddos and say, what does God have for them? How can we use their time? We've heard that we know that we have 18 summers with them from birth to graduation. And all of a sudden 18 seems like a very small. I was just thinking
that. I'm kind of shocked by that.
Yeah, and so it's a small number of summers, and we think, how do we want to spend those summers? Do we want to be intentional? Do we want to do something that grows them into who God wants them to be? Or do we just let them waste them away?
What does that look like?
So, well, some of the things that counselors are saying is that it's imperative for the growth of imagination, that if we don't just, if we allow students, or I keep using students, it could be kids or our teenagers, that if they don't have uninterrupted time, then every moment is filled, so their brain never gets the space to create an imagination and to use that. So another researcher said that if children don't learn how to manage boredom, by default they become mentally lazy, and then they develop destructive habits, which I hadn't really thought much of.
Yeah, because I'm used to the phrase "idle minds are the devil's workshop," mm-hmm. And you're saying something a little different here.
Well, that maybe we haven't managed their boredom correctly and helped them with that. Yeah.
So that changes a lot of things, because now you're saying that boredom is. I'm not.
Well, it could be used as a force for good or a force for bad, depending how we teach our kiddos to manage their boredom.
So how do we do that? What does that look like?
So, one of the research studies said that that boredom provides internal stimulus for true creativity. So we're wanting to build imagination and creativity into our kids, and Why would we want to do that? Probably because those things, imagination, creativity, are the catalyst for things like art and inventions, bold ideas, writers, problem solvers, people who become our entertainers. And if we don't give them that space for boredom, then they fill it up with things that interrupt.
So because they're bored, because they're bored, and we help manage that boredom, their creativity is stimulated.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so that means that we can also see what they're bent towards. So now all of a sudden, you're making me think about this idea that we read in Scripture that God created each one of us, our children,
mm-hmm.
with a certain bent.
Yes.
And if we try to fill that their boredom, the minute they say I'm bored, we try to fill that, then we actually may miss an opportunity to see how they're bent.
Right. Yeah. In fact, if we allow our kids to have some uninterrupted time, and we don't allow them to fill it with anything that entertains them, we should be observers of where they gravitate to. Do they gravitate towards going to draw something, or going to build a fort out in the backyard, or read a book, or make something for a neighbor? But we see a lot of our kids bent in their free time, and if we would have allowed them to fill that with, oh, you can go put on a movie,
Mm-hmm.
We would not have seen. We would not have seen where they go naturally. How do they entertain themselves naturally?
So are you giving us a sense of permission to let them
Absolutely.
to say I'm bored, and you just say
That's so good. I'm so glad, because I'm so excited to see what's going to come out of your boredom. So yeah, this is an opportunity. It's not a problem. And kids often see it as a problem. We as parents see it as a problem, and actually it's an opportunity. And so we think that we think that the answer to boredom is keep them busy,
right,
keep them entertained.
Yeah.
But we have a different answer to boredom.
Different. And when I see you engage our kids, I see that difference. I see what you're doing. And so the answer is not entertainment. What is it?
Well, we have 4 answers to
I'm so
to
excited because
boredom.
I get to hear a little bit inside my wife's heart about what she does with our kids. So.
Yes, well, and you'll be so proud, because I did 2 P's and 2 R's.
Oh,
so
you alliterated.
Just a little
Yay.
bit. Just a little bit. All right, so they are purpose, passion, responsibility, and relationship. And if we help our kids engage in finding purpose for their life, finding passion in their life, giving them meaningful responsibility, and developing strong relationships, that then boredom is more easily used as an opportunity rather than a problem.
That just transforms everything, because now all of a sudden it's something that we can seize upon and do.
Mm-hmm.
And this works with our children who are 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yes.
To 16, 17, 18 years old.
Yes.
Can I even go even further and say 26, 27, 28? I mean,
probably for any of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be able that we have a purpose, we have passion, we have responsibility, and we have man, Shannon, that's
Mm-hmm.
so great.
Mm-hmm.
So exploring some of these ideas. So what does it look like?
Well, I think first we assume that our kids know how to handle their boredom, and they may be able to handle it to an extent, but we saw that if it goes unchecked, it normally leads into some bad habits.
Right. Okay.
And so we coach them. And one of my favorite ways to coach kids is relationship, conversation, and by asking them good questions. And so I have 5 questions that I'd like to share.
So we're going to stop real quick, and so that you can get a pen and a paper, because these questions are profound.
And we can put them online too.
Yes, yeah, and so we'll have most of these things. The questions are that they solve a lot of problems because you're asking them questions. It's not questions you ask yourself, right? Is that
right? You're asking your kids.
You're asking them, which automatically is a relationship.
Absolutely. So you've already hit one of them points. Mm-hmm.
What's one of those questions?
So there's 5 of them, and I'll start with the first one, of course, but they're going to be kind of difficult. We have 3 kids who all answer questions very differently, and we have one that would be able to answer these off the top of their head. We have one who could probably answer them within the day, and we have one that would need a week to think about these answers.
I know exactly who they are.
I know you do. And so for, just in case you have one of those kiddos that needs longer to think about these things, you may give them the questions in written form at the beginning of the week and say, by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this weekend, we are going to sit down and I'm ready to hear your answers to those. So you may already know the answers, but if you don't, I'm going to give you lots of time to think about them. Yeah. And in our house, you can always do more, but you can never do less. And so each question is going to ask for 3 answers. You can always provide more than 3, but you can't do less than 3.
Less than 3. Okay.
Right.
So all these questions deal with give
3
me
things.
3, give me 3, give me 3.
Yes.
Okay.
So, alrighty. So the first question is, what are 3 memories or experiences that you would like to share with our family before you become an adult? So normally we're thinking before you leave for home for college or move out, that sort of thing. So what are 3 memories or experiences that you want to have with our family? Right.
So and I've seen this happen in our home, and so some of you may be thinking, well, that's kind of a more a question I would ask my teenager. Not really, because we asked that of our youngest, who was 10 at the time, 9 at the time. And the response was, I want to eat at Panda Express every single day. And guess what we did? We let that be one of his answers.
One of his answers, yes. And so, do we go to Panda Express every day?
No. But we know something now.
We do. We know a love of his, and we know if you want to treat him,
we know where to go, which is good.
That's right. So they could be from simple little memory makers to maybe more less than simple, like maybe I want to stay up all night with a pizza party game night, on an all night game of Monopoly, or whatever your favorite board game is. There's some pretty cool ones out right now.
Right, there are.
Yeah. So to something less simple, like there's a mountain in Colorado I want us as a family to go hike,
Right.
So it could be very simple. It could be
Is it okay for us as parents to kind of push our kids a little bit to think deeper questions? So like if this first, I know we've got 4 more to go, but with this first one, if it was Panda Express, eat pizza, and play video games, to say, you know what, those are really great, but I want to give you some other opportunities to think a little deeper.
Definitely, yeah. Guide them in that. So if you're noticing that's where they're heading, it's perfectly fine to hand the questions back to them and go, come back with something a little bit more significant.
Right. Because I'm reminding myself now, these are coaching questions.
Yes. And so it may be I'm going to hand these back to you and let's try this again.
Yeah.
Let's try this.
Yeah.
Think a little harder. Think a little deeper, because the idea that the first thing that comes to your mind is the right thing doesn't always apply. So especially when you're little.
True. Okay.
Second question is, what 3 things would you like to accomplish before you're an adult? And so these aren't memory makers. These are like goals and tasks. Okay. Like, I really want to learn such and such. I really want to do such and such. I want to have completed such and such.
So this is like when our oldest daughter says, Mom, I want to learn how to make those enchiladas.
Yes.
Can you teach me how to make those enchiladas?
Yes.
Well, now you know that. Or our middle son who's watched me go on a couple of international trips, who now says, I want to do that this year. I want to do that next year. So the next opportunity to go. So those are the kind of things you're talking about?
Yes. From very, very simple to teach me how to do something that you know how to do. You know that our kiddos fuss at you for not teaching them every art
Yes.
concept. They're like, Dad, you've got to teach me that. And so
Hannah actually said, if I leave this house and I don't know how to draw really well, it's
your fault. Yeah, it's totally your fault. And so, and I also thought about a goal. Like Hannah told us, I want my 2nd degree black belt before I leave home. We're like, okay. Well then, that tells us what we're going to be doing with some of our time.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be a boredom buster right there. Alrighty, ready for the third?
I'm ready for the third. I got my pen ready.
Alrighty, so number 3, who are 3 living people that you admire? And then we do our best to arrange for them to spend time with that person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or to at least make contact.
So like even like a relative, like grandpa.
Yep.
Could be an uncle. Could be an author.
Yeah, like so someone I admire, like my favorite series is written by so and so. I'd like to write them a letter, at least make contact with them, and just maybe ask for a word of wisdom back. Or
our one of our children is kind of politically minded, and so whenever a politician comes through town, we make sure to go be part of that rally.
Yes. Yeah. And make sure that I carve out an opportunity for them to have maybe a private conversation or something. So it takes a little extra effort, but it's so worth it. I read just somewhere that said if you see a spark in your kids, throw gasoline on it.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That resonates with me, Shannon.
Yeah.
So we're talking about questions that are coaching questions, and if we can even say discipling questions.
Yes.
We're teaching them how to process, and we're teaching them how to handle their own boredom. We're not giving them things to do. We're saying, okay, we're going to help you manage that boredom yourself.
We're coaching them.
And so number 4.
Number 4, what are 3 questions that you have about life, God, or your future? And then how would you like those answered? And then do your best to arrange to get those answered for them. And that could be that might be a 1-hour process. It might be a 1 summer process.
Right. So when it comes to you want to have questions answered, I mean, sometimes what if you don't know the answer?
Right. Then we set about finding someone who does know the answer.
Oh.
And so it could be research that could be fun, going, you know what, you have this really big question, and your dad and I have no idea how to answer this. So, but what we can do is help you find someone who can answer it for you. So,
and you're saying someone, not something like Google.
Right. That might be a starting point, but if you could, how much cooler if you could connect them with a person who can answer that question.
Who's passionate about it.
Yeah. And then you're handling again passion and relationship again.
Exactly. So keep on going.
Okay. Last question is.
That's the last one.
This is my favorite one, and I kind of save it. We kind of build up to it because it's a little bit heavy. And
okay, so I've noticed that each question seems to be a little bit more intense than the other ones. And
yes.
So is it structured?
It's designed that way.
Okay.
Yes, because if you start in with the first one, we have one of our kiddos that would have shut down with number 1 and went, whoa, that's way too much for me. So we build it up and we get there slowly. And so this is my favorite question. I think you could probably just hang out here for a good long time. But number 5, what 3 problems in the world would you like to solve?
What?
Yes.
Okay.
So this reminds me of our longstanding love of a particular book and philosophy called Do Hard Things.
Yeah.
We have copies of the book in our
office.
Home and Steve's office. Uh-huh. Yes. My favorite part of that title is actually the subtitle, and it says it's a teenage rebellion against low expectations.
It's a great resource, and if anybody wants that resource in their hands, I will buy it for you because it's designed to be read by the student, by your child, and it's in a language. It's in a your 9-year-old could read it and get some ideas out of it because it's written to that age level. Yeah. All the way up to your senior can also read it too because they've done a really great job. But it's at
our house we read it when we're 13.
13 because that's a
teenage,
great
when we become
milestone.
a teenager.
Yeah. And then it's great because it challenges for parents, even for students. It challenges this idea that the teenage years are meant for recreation and
Fun
live the young life before adult happens. And this book says, you know what?
No, do something meaningful now. And it goes back to one of our other answers to boredom is purpose. And I think this answers purpose. Why did God create me?
Yeah.
How did he design my interests, my loves? And if we as Christians are on this earth to share the gospel of Christ and to spread Christ, he has us do that through a variety of ways. And whatever our professions, our loves, our passions, he puts us in those as a method of sharing the gospel. And so whatever that task is. And so it's a huge question. What problem do you want to solve? When you look around the world,
you're talking world problems, not like my problem here at the house.
No, it could be.
It could be.
I mean, it could be like, I noticed Grandma has this problem with her, her yard. How could I solve that? Or there's something going on in a third world country that I really want to be a part of solving. And so if they're passionate about a problem, if it's close to home, that's acceptable, obviously. But let them think worldwide. Like, whenever God created me, where did there was a problem, and where does he want me to fit in to be a part of the solution? So actually, too, it's a book, too. So if you have a reader, sometimes it's fun to say, we'll reward you at the movie after you've read the book.
Exactly.
Yep.
So having those five questions.
Yes.
Actually, now I'm thinking about it, it's probably good you have 5 questions, because if you had more, I mean, the answers to those questions are not just summer plans, but I'm looking at life plan.
Absolutely.
Golly.
Yeah. And so now when they come to you and they're like, oh, I'm so bored, you're like, oh, do you remember whenever you were just really concerned about this question, or you were hoping to visit with so-and-so, or you had this problem that you wanted to work on? Hey, what can I get for you to start that? Can I get you someone's phone number to give them a call? Yep. Can we go to Hobby Lobby and pick up some supplies, or whatever? What can we do to help project you towards that, answering those big questions?
Because and I was even thinking about when with Hannah learning how to make the enchiladas. Mm-hmm. It's more than just asking about enchiladas, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, can I be a part of the family tradition? Can I carry on something that has memories and value to us?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when our kids are saying, I'm bored, mm-hmm. it may be a language for something else.
Yeah, that's something that was just kind of, you guys know that we love Kathy Cook, and I was actually listening to her recently, and she reminded us that sometimes the words I'm bored are code words for I'm lonely and I'd like your relationship.
Oh, man. That also, I get weepy thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think about when the kids run up and go, here, look at this, or here, and be impressed with something that I've said or done, or actually what they're asking for is interaction and relationship, and help me not feel lonely in this.
So suddenly I'm aware, awoke, if that's the word you can use with this, mm-hmm. but because so many times I want to kind of fire back, well, go do this.
Yeah.
But when I hear you say that they're saying I'm lonely, and I send them away.
Oh.
Oof. I'm just going to sit back here for a second.
Yeah, that's a knife in the heart when you think I could have done that.
But now that we know this,
right? When we know better, we do better.
It's
right.
So now we can figure something else out. Mm-hmm. And with these questions, having these questions in front of us help us to say, okay, so they're lonely.
And sometimes I can't answer it right then, and sometimes I can't meet that need. I mean, at that very moment, mm-hmm. I might be busy with a million other things. I might be running out the door. I can make a plan, though, and say, you know what, tonight when I get home, I'm promising you 30 minutes of my time. Yeah. Or I can't do that right now, but how about I call up, a mentor of yours and see if you guys could go out for hang out for coffee or something this afternoon.
I can imagine that this would set a single parent free.
Yeah.
I really can, because now all of a sudden there's some tangible things, because so much pressure, so much stress, but now all of a sudden we've got some tools. There's some things that we can do,
and we can always bring in other people to help us with these things. I mean, we as parents don't have to have all these answers, and we don't have to fulfill all those needs. It might just be our job is to seek out the people who can fill those for our kids, who can help answer the questions,
right,
and meet those needs.
Yep. Okay, so chores. We do know that one of the I've just spent
that's a great way to spend boredom.
But chores in our house are different. I mean, well, they're the same as every other house, but we don't necessarily call them chores.
I don't like the word chores. They sound kind of punitive. They sound like you're having to be a part of something negative. And so we just call them home responsibilities.
Yep.
They're the responsibilities for being a member of our home.
Yep.
And so, and when possible, we try not to make them drudgery. My kids are known for turning on the radio super loud and dancing around to
disco,
VeggieTales, or camp songs like the taco song.
Whoever wrote that song
it's awful. Yeah. It's awful. We sing "It's Raining Tacos."
It's raining tacos. Do not Google it.
Do not. It's bad. All right. So, I'll set the kids against each other in a race, like who can accomplish such and such.
I've seen that happen. Okay, shotgun some other things.
Alrighty, so there's the traditional bucket list of what do we do with our summer, because the last thing you want to do is to spend it all in front of a screen.
Yeah.
We've done tons of research. Wesley spent a good portion of last year doing research actually on the detrimental effects of screen time for our kiddos. One of the scary things that we found in our research is that tech companies, phone companies, game companies are actually hiring psychologists and psychiatrists who are teaching them how to make their products addictive.
Yeah, it's called brain engineering,
Yes. And so they know just when to give little rewards and when to give temptations, and that is not by accident. When your kids want more and more and more of it, that's purposeful. Someone is working hard to make that happen because it means money for them. And it means negative things for our kiddos. And so there's just the general list of ideas. I like serving others. Find a way for them to serve others. It's amazing whenever we're not focused on ourselves, we're not thinking about boredom. So maybe there's a senior adult member of your church that needs a handwritten letter.
Right.
Or you want to make cookies for the new neighbors who moved in. There's Pinterest, which is great fun. You can learn new arts or crafts. Last summer, some of our students here mentioned that they learned how to do some really beautiful hand lettering over the summer.
Right.
So our STEM projects. So those are all fun ideas. Reading, that's huge at our family. We have a summer reading list that we finished through. Cook, learned how to make a family recipe we've mentioned. Maybe embark on a family project.
Yeah.
Some families like to build tree houses, which sounds really cool and way too overwhelming for me. So how about paint the living room, or plant some flowers, or study apologetics together.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to make sure that your kids know the answers to the big questions in life. And you can go through that with them.
If you're a teacher, a Sunday school teacher, if you're a minister of some kind, one of our heroes that we look up to, Bodie Bauckham, he has his family, his kids are his researchers.
Yes. Yeah. When he's writing a new book, he sets them to researching. We like building at our house. Our kiddos, even when they're older, still build with Legos or robotic things. 1 million Legos. Provide a family challenge for the summer, maybe who can memorize the most scriptures, who can run the longest distance, that sort of fun
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Keep them busy physically. That has all sorts of good benefits to their hearts and minds, to keep them physically active. And one of my favorite things that we plan for each of our kids each summer is a camp experience.
Yeah, we're big camp people.
Yeah, I've just seen such good things come out of camp experiences with kiddos. And so I'll mention 3 of my favorites. There is a camp in Oklahoma called New Life Ranch. Now, we have fabulous Pine Cove and Sky Ranch here. Our kiddos have gone to those. They've worked at those. Hannah worked at Sky Ranch. Those are really, really great camps for a variety of purposes. But each camp seems to have a specialty.
Yeah.
And New Life Ranch in Oklahoma, what they do amazingly well, far and above that I've seen anywhere else, is leadership development.
Yep.
They have a 3-summer program. Kiddos go for 3 different summers. 2 weeks the first summer, 3 weeks the second summer, 4 weeks the last summer.
Yep.
And it's amazing leadership development.
And it builds leadership. So the first year is one level, second level, third
Right.
level.
Yeah, so it's intense work. It's intense Bible study while they're there. And they're very intentional and do a great job. Hannah went through the program and will still tell you to this day that some of her greatest maturing moments as a girl and as a Christian happened during those hard days at camp and those deep relationships that were built there. And and we're starting Marshall off this summer. It is intended for the sophomore, junior, and senior year of a student. The next one is super close, which we are blessed because people travel for states trying to get to what's called a Worldview Academy camp.
Yep, that's really great.
It's so awesome. And we have one here at Laterno. Is Laterno in Athens?
That's Longview.
Longview. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I'm still
It's okay.
East Texas geography. So any Worldview Academy you can actually get college credit for Worldview Academy.
Yeah,
but
these are all on websites too.
Yes, and we can provide links for them. So anyway, they receive about 22 hours of apologetic training. They have professors that come in and teach them the Christian answers to psychology and history and science and the arts, and all in a camp atmosphere where there's lots of, rah-rah and competition and fun stuff. But it's a learning camp. It's pretty much an spiritually academic camp. Incredible good stuff.
It is. And some of these are pricey, so don't
you have to plan in advance.
Plan in advance, but also don't look further into the website, and there's usually links to scholarships and all that kind of stuff. So don't let sticker shock get you. Well, number one, they're worth it, but number two, that there's opportunities, there's ways that the camps themselves have provided.
Absolutely.
Scholarships and all that kind of
Absolutely. First of all, they're a fantastic investment in your kid if you have to pay for it, but they always offer scholarships. And Worldview Academy actually requests that your kids work for at least half of the cost of the camp. They don't want you just to write out a check for them to go to this camp.
And usually, I'll use that for myself and say, as youth pastor, don't just write a check to camp.
Yeah, have them invest in that and be a part of that. And so, New Life Ranch, Marshall got a big scholarship this summer because they had an opportunity where you could write in an essay about why you wanted to be a part of leadership development. And so that helped us quite a bit. Also, you can use it as birthday, Christmas gifts from Grandma and Grandpa, and so your parents are fantastic for that. Giving Worldview Academy as their birthday gift.
They live in Colorado, and so like many of other parents that live far away, they don't have the opportunity to come and babysit or come. So
they're not here with us for the day to day.
Right, and so whenever we say, "Hey, there's this opportunity," they're usually the first one to say, "Hey, let me help you with that."
Yeah, like I want to be a part of the fact that our kids, our grandkids, are prepared and strong. And so a lot of people use Worldview Academy as college prep because if you're concerned about sending your kids away to college and them being influenced by the secular culture, you provide them with all the answers to those questions before they get there. They walk in armed, prepared, confident.
Yep, all those things.
And lastly, of course, you have to come to youth camp with
Yes.
us.
Yeah.
Because Piney Woods is actually really
Piney
cool.
Woods is really cool.
Good.
I mean,
they do a great job of
they do.
discipleship and fun.
And we've talked with other, we had Steve Sykes come in, talk about different types of camps that are out there. And so all these camps are geared towards the student. And so you can go to another place and get experts, like go to volleyball camp or whatever, and people are going to be there to help you with volleyball.
Right.
But we're talking about camps that are invested in your student, your
Yes.
child.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the topic at hand, but the child.
Yeah.
That's it.
Again, relationship.
It goes back to relationship.
Yep.
Yep. And so again, all these ways of I mean, this whole thing that you've been talking about with boredom is an opportunity. Now it makes sense why at the beginning you said boredom is actually an opportunity.
Yeah, you can be excited about it now. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're bored.
Yay!
We have opportunity to come up with something. Let's talk about life. Let's get some big things
I can
going on
imagine.
here.
I can imagine some kids after hearing this going, "What's up with mom? What's up with dad?"
She's excited that I'm bored now.
That's weird. So, but this has flown by. Flown by. Shannon, thank you.
You're welcome.
For this. I got to see a little bit of the skeleton work behind the work that you do at our house, the things that you do with our kids. It's intentional, and that's the thing that we've noticed with every single podcast we've had is that the biggest challenge, not the challenge, the biggest calling is to discipleship is to get involved. It's worth it. It's
is.
so worth it in every sense of the way. So Shannon, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Normally I shake hands, but I'm going to give you a hug. Okay.
Oh,
Aw. I love you.
I love you.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.